Welcome back to the Mailman, TMM as we're now calling it. Trying something new today. As you can see, you are sat in the middle of a steering wheel, which is where my phone is. And until I get a phone holder, I can't hold my phone in one hand and record, so I'm balancing you in the middle of the steering wheel, which, I mean, it gives you a good view, but at the same time it means I'm not going to be able to kind of look at the camera too often because I need to keep myself from dying, so I'll be focusing on the road but still able to talk. I'm on the way to work and I thought I've got about 35 minutes or so 2-3 times a week where I do this journey where I can kind of brainstorm really and just talk without any distractions. I mean, the only distraction is really cars, so there might be times where I'm stopping and starting the conversation, like right now, but it should be fine. It's all good. So yesterday I kind of started basically shaming myself, really, just to put it out there that I have my own body image issues, and they stem from being a little child, being bullied, and those kind of thought processes, being so young, being made to feel inadequate, that, you know, I look different to other people, I was bigger than other kids. It's kind of had a knock-on effect for the last, well, 30 plus years really. Turned 38 the other day, but you know, yesterday you could clearly see when I was going for a job wearing a hoodie in the baking sunshine. I do that as almost like a default. Like I can't stand the thought of people watching me running in a, you know, a light t-shirt or a vest, which is what you should really do, right, in that kind of weather. But I just didn't really feel like I could do that because I'll be judged, people watching me, people will laugh, it will kind of put me off my ambition of, you know, wanting to get fitter and, you know, healthier. And yeah, I think it's something I'm working on, which I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm hoping that doing videos and just kind of putting it out there, getting more people to, you know, be part of this movement and just sort of, you know, share their own experiences will kind of make me feel, you know what, it's not actually as bad as I've thought it is for the last however many years. But the key thing is obviously to raise awareness of this whole topic, because body shaming, you know, body positive, and, you know, that whole kind of thing about it's fine to be whoever you want to be. Yeah, you know what? the more I've got older, the more that this kind of personal issue has impacted me, the more I do feel, why can't I just be happy with the way I am? You know, why do I have to, like, even now today I'm wearing this kind of cardigan thing when I'd be perfectly fine in just a t-shirt, but I just don't feel comfortable wearing a t-shirt, which, let's be honest, I'm not a small person, so it's going to be pretty tight on me, and I don't really want to go to the next size, which in my case would be double XL. See, yeah, I thought that might happen. Yeah, so I guess this all kind of boils back down to my younger days, and that's why I think it's so crucial that we nip it in the bud, or try and help the younger generation of males and even females, or however you want to identify, to just be happy with how you look. And I know many children are are, and they don't necessarily have those thought processes where they feel self-conscious or their self-worth has been damaged, or they feel like they need to look like someone else. But in this kind of day and age, that's on the horizon for them, essentially, because you start off like I did in primary school, where you get the odd comments. Obviously I had it kind of on all angles. I was Asian in a white school, I was fat, I was kind of the ugly duckling in a way. Like, I stood out clearly in front of everyone, and so it was really difficult from that point of view to adjust and just feel I belong in this world. Secondary school is where things started to kind of become a bit more understandable. Like, I understood a lot more about how different I was. Again, one of 2 or 3 non-white people in a 700, 800 child school. That was an eye-opener. But I think I kind of established a presence in that school. Obviously I got bullied, I got the usual names, being Asian, got the usual names being fat. But I think there was more, people being targeted at that school because of the number of people. I wasn't just the only fat person, I wasn't the only big person in that school. I was one of, 50, 60. So there was quite a handful of people who probably are now having the same kind of mental impacts and self-worth issues that I had. But I don't really keep in touch with them, I don't know who they are, but hoping that one day they might see this and they feel, you know what, at least someone's doing something about it. And more importantly, for their children, they don't want to kind of go down that route where their children are being impacted by this. So I'm kind of like highlighting what things to kind of watch out for and look for. And I think the really kind of difficult thing is, in this day and age, like, I remember when I was in school, I got my first phone when I was, in year 8 or 9, and that was like a, your kind of Nokia, not the 3210s, but the ones before that with the little aerial. But you got it for playing Snake, really, and creating your own ringtone, or changing the covers. That was the other thing. But now, you kind of, your child has a completely different level of access to life. With smartphones, social media, the influencers kind of slamming all their content at you, saying you've got to look like this is what girls want, this is what you need to look like in order to be popular, to be accepted. That's the thing that scares me, to be fair, and this goes for girls and boys. There's so much being forced on kids nowadays. I mean, as an adult, I'm getting all this crap. Yeah, it's great. Obviously, the fitness industry, influencers, they're doing their own thing. They're making their own career out of, what they're promoting. But it has a real impact on kids, especially when their minds are still evolving and developing, and you're telling them how you look isn't good enough, and you don't look normal. You need to look like someone else, and so don't accept how you look. That's a really shitty thing to be portraying, but that's the world we live in, and so that's the thing that I'm trying to kind of battle against. And I'm not saying this is going to be an easy thing. We can just ban phones. I know there's a whole load of stuff going on now within schools. I've got kids in primary school, and there's like movements to try and ban phones until a certain age, and you might have obviously seen stuff on the TV about documentaries experimenting with banning phones and seeing how kids react. But that has come as a result of some of the horror stories that I'm sure we've heard and seen in the news where unfortunately there have been young victims of this kind of stuff going on online. But I mean, that's a whole nother topic. There's a lot of content online. I'm not focusing on all the content. I'm focusing on the stuff which makes especially the males and young children feel inadequate and feel like they're not good enough. That to me is my most important thing, because I can resonate with that really well, and I hated it. And I want to help other young people, especially young males, to feel like it's perfectly fine to look how you look. And if you want to make a change, do it for the right reasons. Do it for you. If you want to lose weight, perfectly fine. If you want to hit the gym, perfectly fine. But do it because you want to. Like, I'm doing these, I'm starting running now because I've realised, 38 years old, I'm really unfit, even though I played a shitload of rugby and cricket growing up, and you know, I was really quite fit and in shape at one point. I've let myself go, and yeah, it's really difficult to kind of have a positive outlook on things when I look in the mirror and think, I've done this to myself. Quite frankly, I want to not care. I want to not give a shit about what people think about me. However, for me, because I'm kind of molded in that way, it goes hand in hand, where I think other people are going to judge me, and I feel like I need to do something about it and change the way I look, which is the same as a lot of young kids out there. However, I also have the realization that I'm 38 years old, life's short, and I don't want to be unfit and unhealthy and be, you know, struggling to catch my breath when I'm trying to run or, you know, play with my kids. And I'm not too fussed about the losing weight part. I mean, if I lose weight, it'll be great. It will be a byproduct of the running. But if I'm the same size as I am now, but really healthy and fit, that's my primary aim. But I know by doing the running and eating right and staying active, the extra weight will just naturally fall off anyway. But the key thing is, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my own ambitions, not because someone's telling me to do it or someone's telling me I don't look right. Deep down, it will make me feel better. Make me feel better that I'm doing this for myself. I'm looking better for myself. I'm looking better for how I interpret, or how I imagine other people view me, is not the right way to kind of go about this, doing it for other people. So I'm hoping that I can just keep doing this and just keep my goal met, or whatever the word, keep my goal going strong. But yeah, it's more the starting point of all these thought processes, and that's the thing I want to try and combat, because I think there's so much we don't know what goes on behind the scenes in schools. And I think for those who have watched Adolescence, that was just crazy. Like, not just obviously the way it was made, that was just insane. And I love Stephen Graham's kind of his style and the one-shot scenes and stuff like that. I think it's incredible. But I think the kind of the story behind Adolescence, it's so eye-opening, especially as a parent, that, you know, kids can be so easily manipulated and molded, and you know, the way that kids communicate with each other on, like, it's, you know, gone are the days of just sending like an aubergine emoji because, you know, it's a funny dick thing. But you know, there's more meaning to these emojis nowadays, like the colours, you know, what kids are sending about themselves, about sort of how they're feeling, and you know, incel, and it's like, it's mind-blowing just how advanced kids are these days. And that's the worry, is there's so much that we can't see them doing, how much they have access to, the content that is slowly, affecting them. And I think it's not as bad as like how it was. It's it's not just bullying, it's not just verbal abuse, it's the content that they're seeing. They're being, if a kid doesn't fit in, or he looks different to other people because of whatever, colour, his size, his nationality, whatever it is, it's almost like you get the bullying from all angles, from the stuff you see online, the social stuff, the social media content, the verbal abuse from kids, like actually, your people in your school. It must be really tough. I obviously only had it from the verbal side of things. We didn't have content back then. The phones were just regular phones. We couldn't see any content. We couldn't see influencers telling you don't look right, you need to look like this, lose weight. None of that stuff existed. So in some respects it's like it was probably easier back then, because all I had to deal with was the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, and physical actually in some cases. So how do we do that? What's the solution here? It's a massive thing to try and kind of go up against these big social media companies, the fashion industry, influencers, restricting, what kind of stuff kids have access to. Yeah, these big tech companies say that there are restrictions in place, and they filter the content going through to kids' phones, but I don't think it's really true. I heard the other day that the content that kids in China see on TikTok versus the content that our kids see in the UK is completely different. Like over there, a lot of what they are forced to see, what comes up on their own feed, is the stuff to do with like pushing yourself with education, studying hard, working hard, about subjects in school. Whereas over here, what do you get? You get stuff about Japanese suicide forests and these dickheads about, doing stupid pranks and stunts, and, influencers saying that you're not looking good enough or you're not good enough, and to make yourself better and to be normal, to look normal. Like, it's all very surface level over here, but that's like so important to kids nowadays. Whereas in other parts of the world, they got it right. You push the right type of content, you suddenly get kids that are like, I want to work hard, I want to get into a nice kind of career that I enjoy. There's none of that shit going on over here. It's just so stupid how the content is, and how kids are becoming victims of all this shit going on. And yeah, it annoys me, because I don't want my children going down that route. It's one of those worrying thoughts as a parent. You try and protect your child from all of the idiots out there and all the bullshit content, but then you've got someone in school who has access to all of this, or they have a phone, and then they're showing them all of this stuff, and it makes them feel not only, I'm missing out, my parents don't buy me a phone, like that side of it. It's also the stuff that they're seeing is all very, about image, and at such a young age, it's like, why would you want your child seeing that stuff and being impacted and thinking, it's all, especially for girls, like I know there's a lot of other stuff, but for girls especially, it's like, it's all about beauty and looking like a certain influencer, and trying this style. With boys, it's not makeup, but it's more to do with get hedge, to the gym, look good. Without looking good, you can't get girls. It's quite worrying, and it's a bigger, it's well above our pay grades to change this sort of stuff. But until then, what can we do? Firstly, I need likes. I need subscriptions or whatever they're called. I need people to kind of comment and share and follow me, because I want to boost this topic. I want to get it in front of everyone. That's the only way it's going to be able to make a difference, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it's great, and I really appreciate the few people that have seen these videos to date. But at the same time, it's not enough to get it on the main pages of other people who have, kids, or who have these issues, or those that are just scrolling aimlessly through random videos. I need as many people to see this stuff as possible. And that's why I was thinking, once this hopefully gains some traction, start partnering with, bigger names, people who have their own audiences that can resonate. So people who have perhaps had, body image issues before, who have had that kind of upbringing where they've been made to feel inadequate and not enough, and they've been made to look different because of other people and other reasons, not for themselves. So people that can support that, I guess, is the aim here. But yeah, that's more of a long-term thing, which I'd love to do. I'd love to kind of go down that route and start a podcast or a kind of a video channel where where we interview people and bring this kind of topic even more to light, and hopefully it resonates with different people, because this is not ever going to go away. This is a really hard mental battle, and I know there are some people, and I see some people walking about town wearing what they want, not giving a single shit about how they look. That is amazing, I think. However they've been brought up, however they've managed to overcome these kind of comments or bullying or whatever they may have faced at one point in their life, to still not give a shit. I wish I could just take an ounce of that and inject myself with that, because I think that is such a great way to think. But then I also think it's also good if you've realized that you want to do something and make a change for yourself, not because someone has bullied you into it, or not because of social media telling you to make that change. That is also a great sort of challenge that you would have overcome. So any stories like that, anyone that has done that, again, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to do something where we can sort of understand and try and work together to try and push that way of thinking and that mentality out to other people. Because otherwise, it's just going to get worse, and then you're going to be a 38-year-old like me with a self-realization that, why have I let other people control my thoughts and the way that I view myself for so long? And I think it's before it gets too late, especially if you've got kids, whether you've seen a change in them, or you're worried about them in any way, or it's fine, even if you recognize that you have a child who doesn't quite fit in, potentially because of their appearance, and you're worried about that. Wouldn't it be great to help them come to the realization that, you know what, there is no right or wrong. There is no fitting in. If you don't fit in, you create your own world. You create your own friendships, your own environment. Why do you need to kind of fit into someone else's environment or the environment we live in? Like, what is the real way of, you know, what is looking normal? There is no normal. We're just built different. Everyone is built different, but we're still valid. We're still just as important as each other. You can be fat, you can be thin, you can be tall, short, you can be different colors. If 80% of your class all look the same and you look different, so you're still valid, you're still important, you're still a person. There's no normal. That just means that if they all look the same, if they're just skinny or, you know, normal kind of sized individuals, fine, let them be normal sized. But you're also normal sized. You're just a normal person. Is the word normal actually even right? Like, I'm finding myself using that now because it's kind of like how I've always addressed the issue. But maybe that's the issue right there. Maybe we should just stop saying normal. There is no normal. So maybe the better way of saying that is if 80% of a group all look the same and you look different to them, then that just means there's just more of them and less of you, which makes you more unique. Your uniqueness. Anyway, I'm kind of going off topic here, but yeah, I kind of caught myself just using the wrong terms because I don't think that's right, so apologies. So yeah, if you're worried about your child, if you think that there's something impacting them, could be a whole range of things. How can we make it clearer to kids that it's perfectly fine to look the way you look, and that there is no perfect figure or perfect color or perfect size? And if they really want to make a change and do something for them, that's fine, encourage that. But do not allow them to want to make that change because they say to you, I'm being bullied in school, or all the stuff I'm seeing online is that I'm only going to be successful in life is if I look this way, or if I lose weight, or if I change the colour of my skin. Because that is absolute bullshit. I have a gorgeous wife and 2 kids, and look at me. I am by no means the definition of the perfect man. There is no perfect. I'm just me. Yes, I might have been thinner. There may have been less of me when I was at uni, and you know, I felt good because I was starting to get attention from girls. I had friends, I played rugby, I was in a good place. But then that's not sustainable. That's not like the answer to it, to happiness, because I ended up with everything that I've got now after all of that. about the confidence. If you're confident in yourself, however you look, that's what's going to make a difference. You're going to have confidence. You'll then have self-belief that you could do anything. You could get anyone. If you want a girlfriend, if you want a family, if you want a career, you just have to think you can do it, and behave in that way, and not think I need to look like something in particular in order to get all of that. Because quite frankly, if it takes for you to become a roid head and bulk up just to get a girl, is that really the kind of girl you want? Because you're not going to look like that for the rest of your life. The moment you lose that sort of drive to keep hitting the gym, or you get injured and you start, you know, taking a back seat on all the steroids and pumping iron and shit, she's gonna leave. It's the wrong person for you. So fuck that. You want someone who's gonna be with you through thick and thin, however you look. But as long as you're happy with yourself and you're confident and you have that self-worth and self-belief, and you find someone who wants to stick with you no matter what, that's your gold mine right there. That's all. That's what's really should be the goal. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. Let me know if any of this resonates with you, if you think I'm chatting shit, or if you want me to kind of be more. These are all unscripted, by the way, as you can tell. I have nothing really planned in my head. I'm just talking at you with what I think about. So if there's any kind of particular content or any particular focus you want me to focus on, let me know so I can stop boring you and be a bit more specific. Because ultimately that's what I want to achieve, is kind of hitting the mark with you guys to then build that trust and resonate with you and resonate with your audiences, and for you to push the message out there, because this is such an important thing. And before it's too late, that's the worst thing. I just want to try and help as many people, especially, you know, the younger ones, the kids, where it's not too late to make that change mentally for them, the way they think, the way they view themselves. Because once you start going down that path, honestly, it's fucked. And I'll come onto that in another video about how all of these issues and the confidence, the low confidence, because of my lack of self-worth and the bullying and all of that stuff, how it has impacted me. Because it's impacted me from all angles. Relationships, work, just life in general. And it's been awful. And I'd hate for someone else to go down that route. So, as I said, like, subscribe, do what you need to do. I feel really cringe doing that because I hear all these kids when my daughter's watching YouTube say the same thing, but if I need to say it, I'll say it. Like and subscribe to TMM, and I'll see you next time.